Bro, listen up. It is March 9th, 2026. It is 7 at night. The NFL free agency window just swung open, and the Washington Commanders are already making moves, real moves, not the kind of moves that have you terrified at 3 in the morning while you are doom scrolling Twitter. Nah, we are talking about moves that make you lock your phone, take a deep breath, and tell yourself, okay, this year might actually be different. And fam, if you are a Commanders fan, the way I am, you know exactly what that feels like because last season was brutal. 5 wins, 12 losses, Jaden Daniels banged up, the defense handing out points like grocery store coupons, and Marcus Mariota, God bless, out there basically fighting the whole world alone. It was a season that hurts to even think about, but it was also a season that taught general manager Adam Peters something. It taught what happens when you do not build around a franchise quarterback. When you let offseason drama eat you alive, when you waste time in contract battles that pull focus away from what really matters. And it looks like Peters learned the lesson because Peters is running a master plan this offseason and the money does not lie. $60.2 million to lock down the blind side of the quarterback through 2028. $16 million to rebuild a secondary that was a straight-up nightmare in 2025. $7 million to secure the most experienced insurance policy on the roster. $83 million committed across 3 moves on day 1. If it is still not clear what is happening in Landover, stick around till the end because we are breaking it all down today. News 1, Laramie Tunsil extends with the Commanders. 2 years, $60.2 million. All right, we're starting where we have to start with the person who protects Jaden Daniels' blind side, the one who kept that offensive line from completely falling apart in the middle of a train wreck season. The one the Commanders paid a fortune in draft picks to get last year and who just got locked in today on a 2-year, $60.2 million extension. Laramie Tunsil, left tackle, the best in the league right now. And now, officially, a Commander through 2028. Listen, you have to really understand how big this is. This is not just re-signing some random offensive lineman. This is the single most important move this team could have made this offseason. Because in the modern NFL, you build from the inside out, you protect the quarterback, and you do that before anything else even hits the board. And Adam Peters, who had everybody on edge last year with the Terry McLaurin contract saga, Peters learned. Finally, got it done fast, got it done clean, got it done right. Let us talk numbers because they matter. 2 years, $60.2 million, 30.1 per year. That makes Tunsil, like all the reports are already saying, the highest paid left tackle in the entire NFL in average annual value, $30 million a year for a left tackle. And fam, if somebody tells you that is too much, that it is an overpay, that Tunsil is not worth that kind of bag, that person did not watch Laramie Tunsil in 2025 because, bro, what Tunsil did last year was absolutely ridiculous and it was in flat-out hostile conditions. Think about it. The Commanders went 5-12. They shuffled quarterbacks multiple times. Jaden Daniels went down. Marcus Mariota started 8 games. Different quarterbacks, different tendencies, different timing, different everything. And even with all that chaos, Tunsil logged 490 pass blocking snaps in 2025 and allowed only 2 sacks, 2, and 15 pressures the entire season. Bro, do you get what that means? That means the person who is supposed to be the toughest assignment on the field for any left tackle, the elite edge rusher, pretty much vanished whenever lining up across from Tunsil. That level of play in a season where everything else around was on fire is Pro Bowl. It is All-Pro. It is one of the best tackles on the planet, stuff that should be getting way more national attention. And there is something those pass blocking numbers do not tell you. Tunsil also surprised everybody in the run game. That was not even the selling point when Washington traded for this dude. The narrative was, we are bringing in Tunsil to keep Jaden Daniels clean in the passing game. Give time. Let Daniels go through the reads that make this quarterback special. And yeah, Tunsil did that at an elite level. But on top of that, this person turned into a plus run blocker. Angle blocks, combo blocks with the interior guard, reach blocks, in zone concepts. Tunsil executed all of it at a level nobody really expected because in Houston, there was not that same emphasis on that part of the game. There is something else that does not show up in any PFF chart, the locker room impact. The effect on the young players around. Last year, Josh Connerly Jr., the first-round pick Washington brought in to be the right tackle of the future, had a really rough start. The jump to the NFL is brutal. Technique, game speed, elite edge rushers you never saw at that level in college. Connerly staggered early, but finished the season strong, way stronger. And a big part of that was having Laramie Tunsil on the other side of the line, working with, talking, teaching. That mentor role has real value that never shows up in anybody's spreadsheet, but absolutely builds the future of a franchise. Now, let us talk Peters for a second. Last year, the Terry McLaurin contract holdup turned into a massive distraction. The whole offseason got swallowed up by that negotiation, that drama, all that back and forth. And in the end, McLaurin signed right before training camp on terms both sides probably could have reached way earlier if the whole thing had been handled differently. Then McLaurin had a frustrating season, injuries, shaky chemistry, a broken team, and the question was just hanging there. Was all that drama really worth it? Did the holdout end up doing more damage than good? Peters clearly did not want a sequel. And with Tunsil, there was no sequel. Peters moved fast, moved decisively, and sent a very loud message to the whole league and to that locker room. The players who earn it are going to get paid, and they are going to get paid before the drama kicks in. That is real front office leadership. That is exactly what this organization needed from Adam Peters. Tunsil locked in through 2028 means Jaden Daniels has a left side bodyguard in place for the most important development years. It means the blind side of the quarterback of the future is in the best hands possible. It means this team is not going to waste Daniels' talent because it refused to build real protection up front. And look, bro, I am fired up. I am not even going to lie. Now, there are still open questions along the offensive line. Center Tyler Biadasz got cut, which freed up cap space, but left a big hole right in the middle of that line. Left guard Chris Paul is an unrestricted free agent and might walk. Those are real questions Peters still has to answer. The offensive line is not a finished product, but the most important thing is locked down. The left tackle, the blind side protector for Jaden Daniels, the best at that spot in the entire NFL, signed, sealed, delivered through 2028. This is the foundation. Everything else gets built on top of this. Okay, bro, that was huge, but hold up, because what comes next is crazy in a different way. Now, we are talking about the secondary. We're talking about one of the spots that hurt the most in 2025. And the Commanders are already hitting it head on. Let us go. News 2, Amik Robertson signs with the Commanders. 2 years, $16 million. Bro, if you watch the Commanders defense in 2025, you know it was not a bad dream. It was a full-blown nightmare with all the special effects. Washington's defense was consistently one of the worst units in the league, not just in one metric, in a bunch of them. And the secondary was one of the biggest disasters. Pass coverage, explosive plays allowed, passer rating against, everything. It was like trying to stop the ocean with a hand towel, and that showed up directly in the record. Remember when Marcus Mariota lost 2 games in overtime? When they dropped games by 1 single point? Those losses are not just on the quarterback. The defense kept letting drives slip away in crunch time. That has to change in 2026. So what do the Commanders do on the very first day of the free agency negotiation window? They go out and grab one of the most versatile cornerbacks on the market. Amik Robertson, 27 years old, the last 2 seasons with the Detroit Lions, a player who, over those 2 years, left the field because of injury 0 times. This person suited up for every single one of the 35 games the Lions played the last 2 seasons. Playoffs included 35 games, did not miss one, and that fam is more valuable than it might look at first glance. 2 years, $16 million, 8 per season in the current cornerback market. That is great value. You are signing someone who can play in the slot, slide outside, has playoff reps, and has been part of one of the most solid defenses in the NFC the last couple of years. In Detroit, that defense was consistently sturdy, and Robertson was one of the pieces. Defensive IQ, understanding schemes, knowing when to drive on the ball versus when to stay disciplined in coverage. That gets built in high-stakes environments like the one Detroit has had recently. Now, I am going to keep it real with you. 2025 was not Robertson's best season, played both in the slot and outside, and the passer rating allowed jumped to 116.5. The worst mark of the career. Also gave up 8 passing touchdowns, another career low light. Why bring that up? Because this is not one of those channels that only says what you want to hear. Being honest with you is respect, bro. but the context matters. Robertson finished the year playing out of position. Carlton Davis III, Detroit's starting outside corner, broke a jaw, and Robertson, who spent most of 2024 in the slot where the game is more natural and productive, had to bump outside. Different technique, different alignment, different responsibilities. When you are out of your comfort zone and you are dealing with the kind of receivers the NFC is rolling out, your numbers are going to take hits. That is not an excuse. It is context any serious evaluation has to bake in. What gets me excited about Robertson in Washington schematically is the versatility. Whatever the Commanders' defensive coordinator cooks up for 2026, that scheme needs pieces who can function in multiple alignments. Modern NFL demands a secondary that can move. You cannot have corners who only know how to do one thing. Robertson can line up at nickel. He can go outside when the call sheet demands it. He can handle different coverage looks. That is a flexible tool in the hands of a smart coordinator. And think about it from the opposing quarterback's perspective. When your most predictable coverage player is a safety, quarterbacks pick on that all game. When you have real versatility at multiple secondary spots, when your slot corner can kick outside, when your outside corner can come into the slot, quarterbacks have to recalculate. That disguise, that variety, that pre-snap uncertainty for the offense has real value in a world where elite quarterbacks like Dak Prescott are in your division, where the Eagles are rolling with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley behind that line, and where the rest of the NFC East is ready to torch any defensive tendency they can pick up on tape. Robertson is walking into a Washington secondary that desperately needs to be competent. Nobody is asking for all-pro across the board. The ask is simple. Do not let every single drive end with points. Have some integrity in your coverage. When a receiver breaks on an in-breaker over the middle, be there to challenge it. Robertson can absolutely be part of that answer. $16 million over 2 years. If this person plays anywhere close to the best level, this is a steal. And the fact that the deal got done so fast in the very first hours of the window says a lot about how urgently Washington is approaching this offseason. No more sitting back, no more reacting late. You identify a need, you identify a player who fits it, you go get the deal done. That is building a roster on purpose. The Lions are going to miss Robertson. Their secondary is going to be interesting to watch because Terrion Arnold has legal issues under investigation. Brian Branch is working back from a torn Achilles, and Kirby Joseph has that knee situation. Detroit does have young talent that might fill the gap, but losing Robertson, the only defensive back who played all 35 games the last 2 seasons, is a real hit, and the Commanders scooped that value up before some other team could. Bro, and this is all on day 1, first day of negotiations. Okay, fam, breathe for a second, because what comes next is the most loaded story of the whole day. We're talking about a former number 2 overall pick, someone who has made $90 million in the NFL, a backup quarterback who became the most important player on the roster when everything fell apart, and is coming back to Washington. Let us get into it. News 3, Marcus Mariota returns to the Commanders. 1 year, $7 million. All right, sit with this for a minute, because this is not just Commanders sign backup quarterback. This has layers. This has narrative. This is the kind of arc where if it were a movie, the whole theater would be clapping by the end. Marcus Mariota, number 2 pick in the 2015 draft, the quarterback who, in Tennessee, was supposed to be the next big thing before anyone even knew who Patrick Mahomes was. Came into the league with sky-high hype, got compared to some of the most gifted dual-threat quarterbacks we had ever seen, and carried franchise savior expectations, and the career took its turns. Las Vegas, Atlanta, Philadelphia, until landing in Washington, staying, and now coming back again. 3 straight 1-year contracts, 3 years in a row in Washington. Every year, Mariota is back. Every year. There is conversation about whether it is time to bounce and chase a starting gig somewhere else, and every year, Mariota ends up back in burgundy and gold, and yeah, this year was the same conversation. Mariota's name got linked to the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, the greatest of this generation, tore an ACL late in 2025. The natural question, who is going to steer the Chiefs while Mahomes rehabs? ESPN's Seth Walder went on record naming Mariota as the ideal fit. Solid, experienced, not crazy expensive, understands the assignment. It made sense. And yet, Mariota is back in Washington. Bro, that tells you something. Either Kansas City chose another route or the market just was not there for Mariota as a legit starter candidate. Either way, the outcome is that the Commanders kept the most important backup on this roster at a very reasonable price. $7 million guaranteed with incentives that could push it to $11. That is money well spent for the kind of insurance Mariota gives this team. And to be clear, I do not want to see Mariota as the full-time starter ever again here. That cannot be the plan. Jaden Daniels has to be healthy and on the field, but the NFL is ruthless. Injuries happen, and 2025 was a brutal reminder. Daniels went down, Mariota stepped in, and the team had to survive with a backup quarterback playing behind the worst defense in football. What did Mariota do in that no-win situation? Went 2-6 as a starter, 8 starts. But look at the details. 4 of those 6 losses were by 1 score or less, 2 of them in overtime. Mariota was out there battling until the end in most of those games, and the best performance, 28 of 50, 294 passing yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, plus 55 rushing yards on 10 carries came against the Denver Broncos, one of the nastiest defenses in the league that season. Mariota played the best ball against the toughest defense on the schedule. That says something about the person's makeup. Keep it a buck, fam. Mariota's not going to carry you to a Super Bowl, but if Daniels goes down again, you need somebody who can keep the season afloat until the starter is back. Mariota can do that. You also have to look at what Mariota has built since leaving Tennessee. The public narrative loves to slap the bust label and move on, but this is someone who has made $90 million in the NFL while basically being a backup for the last 6 seasons. That is not failure. That is adaptation. That is situational awareness. Mariota figured out what the lane was, understood the real value in the market, and found organizations where success was possible in that specific role. And that, bro, is a kind of a success people do not always give credit to. We live in a football culture where the quarterback has to be the starter, the face, the franchise, or else the story becomes, it did not work. But Mariota carved out a real career, made serious money, helped real teams, and now, in year 3 in Washington, is the safety net for one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the league. $90 million in career earnings. Not bad at all for someone a lot of folks wrote off 6 years ago. And from Jaden Daniels' point of view, keeping Mariota around makes complete sense. This is not just any backup. This is somebody who already knows the offense, knows the coaching staff, is not going to turn the locker room into a circus, is not going to start campaigning for snaps. This is a professional backup with real mileage who already proved that when the number is called, the team will still be competitive. That kind of setup, strong backup, not a threat, not a distraction, matters a lot for a young quarterback's development. Now, 3 straight one-year deals also tell you there is a ceiling here. Mariota is turning 33 in 2026. At some point, the backup succession plan has to change shape. Do you draft a young quarterback and let that player develop as the next backup while learning how to be a pro in that room? That is a future conversation. But for 2026, with all the uncertainty hanging over this roster after last year, keeping Mariota was the right call. PETERS saw that and got it done on day 1 of the negotiating window. Did not let it drag, did not sit back, waiting to see if Kansas City or someone else was going to swoop in, locked it in early at a fair number and kept building. And bro, honestly, there is something almost poetic about Mariota coming back again. At this point, this person is Washington. After everything that went down last season, Daniels' injury, the overtime heartbreaks, the nightmare schedule, still here, still locked in. That matters. That says something, fam. First day of the free agency negotiation window, day 1, and the Commanders have already made 3 moves that are all pushing in the same direction. First, they locked down Jaden Daniels' blind side with Laramie Tunsil's extension. The best left tackle on the planet signed through 2028. $30 million a year and worth every penny. Second, they reinforced a secondary that was a total dumpster fire in 2025 by signing Amik Robertson, a versatile corner with 2 seasons of experience in a winning Detroit system. And third, they kept continuity at the backup quarterback spot by bringing Marcus Mariota back on a 3rd straight one-year deal, making sure that if Daniels gets hurt again, God forbid, there is an experienced pro ready to take the controls. Do these 3 moves magically fix every problem the Commanders have? No, there are still big questions on the interior offensive line. There are still concerns about defensive depth. There is still plenty of work to do on this roster before the 2026 season kicks off. But the direction is clear. The intent is clear. Adam Peters is building around Jaden Daniels with urgency and conviction. And after a season like 2025, after seeing exactly what happens when you fail to build properly around your quarterback, that urgency is exactly what needed to show up. This offseason is just getting started. There is more news coming, more moves, more signings, more drama, more breakdowns you have to catch right here on the channel. So if you have not subbed yet, bro, what are we doing? Hit subscribe. Smash that bell, drop a like on this video, and tell me down in the comments which one of these 3 moves has you the most hyped. Tunsil's extension, Robertson in the secondary, or Mariota running it back? I already know my answer. I want to hear yours. Washington Commanders 2026 fam, this is just getting started. And if you ask me, this year feels different. HTER always.